Welcome to Cashflow Podcasting, where business owners reveal how their podcasts have supercharged their success. My podcast completely transformed my training business, so I've seen firsthand the magic that podcasts can work. And here's the best part. You don't need millions of downloads to boost your business's revenue and impact. Let our guests show you how. Scott, you're on.
No pressure. Yeah. So for us with the Happen to Your Career podcast, it's created, let's see, I've got the list right here, just under $4 million in revenue directly from the podcast. It's given us access to all kinds of authors and many other people who I would love to meet, but normally wouldn't pick up my call or return my emails. And I think the most important thing for us is that the people who listen to our podcast are coming ecstatic to work with us as opposed to us going to find them. That is for me, the major difference. I want to be able to work with people that are absolutely pumped and feel like they have to work with us, as opposed to us scratching and clawing to try and find a way to get to those people and then convince them to work with us. And so absolutely love that. That's one of my favorite things.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you, Scott.
On that same note, I think I've always thought of podcasting as it's a filtering mechanism, or it's a verification that somebody has. A ton of my clients come from the show. And so I'd say over 75% of the people I've done work with are from the show. And they know the way I think about things. And to the degree that they've heard me advertise about consulting, they've far more consumed the content. So it builds trust. It makes it so that I have more qualified leads for my business. That you can't beat it. And it's the same thing I tell people to do with Instagram, even if they're not open. Develop a values-based constant community, a cadence of posting that when you put jobs up there, people are already subscribed to it. It's a pre-filter for all the leads.
Awesome. Thank you. Dave or Kwame, care to go on the record?
For me, starting a podcast was instrumental for the business. And so I feel like we are more of a podcast as the foundation, and then the business is built on the legitimacy and credibility that we get from the podcast. So for me, starting off in the field of negotiation, the big thing that people are asking is, can you do what you say you can do? And in this space, it's really hard for people on the outside to differentiate. And when you have a podcast, now you just have hundreds of hours of your voice on this topic. And so it helps to take down barriers because you get that know, like, and trust really organically. And actually today I was talking to somebody who has been listening to the podcast since 2017. He's like, I listened to this to help me in this way. It helped me to get a better deal on this car. And I have been looking for opportunities to get you into one of my companies. And this is the one. Finally, I was able to deliver. And I think that's a real good example, because there are people who not only are looking for opportunities to work with a high-level professional, it's the next level, because they're saying, no, I want to work specifically for you. And they are going to advocate for you. And that's a completely different level of connection that you have with potential clients. So for me, the podcast has been the number one way to establish credibility, to show that I know what I'm talking about, and also to get clients. Everything good that has happened to the American Negotiation Institute has happened because of the podcast.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to redo mine. Let me get my suit first. Just kidding.
Right. Just got them all here, man.
One other thing, though, I think that honestly, the biggest thing for me, beyond what I already said, is that like we get to meet some of the coolest people like all over the freaking world that found us on the internet and, or downloaded, podcasts on Spotify, listened to 50 hours. So they're listening to us more than they talk to their mom, and then have come and and decided that they're going to work with us. And then those turn into lifelong relationships. Like that is my absolute favorite thing. And then I get to, whenever I travel to any other country, any other state, whatever, I get to go and meet those people in real life and have all these really wonderful experiences. Some of my favorite times have come from the podcast. Like that's hands down my favorite thing.
It's so easy also to refer somebody to a podcast. It's easier than giving them a book because you might not have an extra book or yeah, go to this website. But a podcast, man, once they get plugged into that, that's the seller right there too.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of people do that where they, even outside of the industry I'm in, which is in coffee, I've got a lot of listeners who just listen to it simply for the sake of the content being so universally applicable. But you know, it's the people in coffee that really just, I am the go-to podcast for coffee shop owners because of how consistent it is, and that's what's led to a lot of great business and referrals.
Yeah, I see time is dwindling. I have one other story if you think it could be relevant. So I remember with the data that you get from the podcasts, when you actually start to comb through it, sometimes you will start to see patterns that don't make sense initially. But when they do start to make sense, it is just mind blowing. So, for example, the majority of listeners were coming from my hometown. So we have listeners all over the world, but just the greatest, like the most popular city was Columbus, Ohio, which makes sense. But then all of a sudden, Minneapolis, Minnesota started to tick up. And I was like, why do we have more listeners in Minneapolis? That doesn't make any sense. And so for folks in negotiation, procurement, that's one of the professions that needs negotiation the most, the people who buy things for their company. And it turns out that the director of procurement at Target was a listener of the podcast, and he was sending it out to his whole team all the time. And so after a couple of years of seeing this, he appeared on LinkedIn, and I'm like, that's where this is coming from. So the deal essentially closed itself. So now Target is a client and we do trainings for them, but it was because we were just passively nurturing that relationship unbeknownst to us for a couple of years, and then they were ready to pull the trigger.
As soon as you said Minneapolis, I'm like, it's Target procurement, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's only one company in Minneapolis that would have that level of impact on your podcast.
Exactly. I was like, doesn't Best Buy, are they in Minneapolis too? No. Well, this is gold. Thank you, gentlemen. Wow. It's so funny. It's like, podcaster, record something amazing for me. And then it comes out amazing. It's like, oh yeah, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Thanks for joining me today. If you're ready to start your podcasting journey to grow your thought leadership and boost your revenue, schedule a call with us at cashflowpodcasting.com/chat. Don't wait to take your business to the next level. I'm Pete Makaitis, and until next time.